Testing 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm.
So then I would like to announce our next talk from Benny Seeger, Package Source Release Engineering.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for the introduction. So my name is Benny. I've been a package source developer for several years now, and I have accidentally become a member of Package Source Release Engineering. So today I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what we do and what we don't do. Maybe for the little anecdote, the way I became a member of this is Tron, Matthias Scheler, was asking around for volunteers and said, like, you know, we're N members, would be nice if we were N+1 member. And I said, sure, I can participate in this. And then after I joined, about a month later, Tron announced that he was retiring from this position, and it's like, tag, you're it, and now I'm it. So the contents of the talk today, we're going to talk about quarterly releases, which are very important, and as a user of package stores are the thing that you should be looking at mainly. And then about pull-ups. One of the tropes we have at work is to call your talk life of an X. So we have life of a pull-up, and yeah. So quarterly releases. So you may have heard that package source releases once a quarter. The current quarterly release is called 2018 Q2. So the quarterly releases usually come at the end of the quarter that they're named after, which is not a great experience. However, note that the committee called Package Source Release Engineering, Package Source RELEng, does not actually engineer a release. Releases are done by something else, by the members of Package Source PMC, the Program Management Committee. That is a thing that was formed in 2003. You can find on netbsd.org, you can find a resolution where this was founded. The description from that resolution is: a committee shall be formed to establish guidance over the process of integrating and maintaining third-party software into the NetBSD package source collection. To me, that doesn't sound like quarterly releases, but yeah. They're sort of the package source elders, if you will. They're the program management committee running package stores. As far as I know, and I've compiled it from memory, the current list of members is Alistair Crooks, AGC, Greg Troxel, GDT, Jonathan Perkin, J. Perkin, and Thomas Klausner, Wiz. And they do releases. And Package Source RELEng doesn't. So the oldest release that I could find, the oldest quarterly release, is 2003 Q4. So at the end of the year, we will have a 15-year uninterrupted stream of quarterly releases, which I think is a great achievement. The way a stable release works, or the life cycle of a stable release, is we maintain exactly one stable branch. So when Package Source 2018 Q2 was released, at the same moment 2018 Q1 became obsolete and stopped being updated. In practice, what happens is it stops getting updated about a week before, but yeah, that's not the official guidance. A stable release is a basis for binary packages. So NetBSD, the NetBSD Foundation runs a number of package builders for the supported releases, for NetBSD 6, NetBSD 7, 8, and I think also current, maybe, I don't know, at least 6, 7, and 8. And the builders are essentially run in an endless loop where they update the branch and rebuild. So that's kind of nice. That means over the lifetime of the branch, the binary packages will be kept up to date. And so as a user, that's what you should be using. As a developer, it's probably a bit harder because you want to commit to the current branch. So based on the revision that the branch is based on, security fixes, build fixes, and bug fixes get applied over time over a process we call pull-ups that I'm going to talk about in detail later. And officially, there are no long-term supported branches, so no branches that are supported longer than a quarter. I think Joyent has a long-term support branch for perhaps only for SmartOS, I'm not sure. And NetBSD, Pierre, correct me if I'm wrong, NetBSD has or used to have a long-term support package source branch. So here's how a release works. A release. Where? The Q4 branch is the long-term. In Joyent. Yes. Ah. Thank you. And they do also macOS, yes. So the release starts with a freeze. The way this works is the owner of the release. It's typically one of the PMC members. The last time it was Greg, GDT. The owner of the release declares the package source tree frozen, and sometimes a little bit before that happens, either it's announced, we will freeze at X date, or it is announced that from now on we're in careful mode. So that means please pay attention to what you're doing and don't break the tree if you can help it. And then once the freeze is declared, the only thing that should be committed into the package source tree is things that could also be pulled up later, such as security updates, or typically leaf package updates. So if you update a package that nothing else depends on, and you just update it, say, from 1.1.2 to 1.1.3 or something like that, like micro version updates, these are usually fine. If you're unsure, you should ask, and they will tell you if it's okay or not. The whole point of the freeze, though, is that people can start doing bulk builds, build all the packages on various platforms, on various OSs, find out if things actually work. Typically, there are some problems that are found in this phase, and then you fix build failures and whatnot. And hopefully that is done before the release happens, and not, once it's released, then you look at the bulk build and you find out that, I don't know, CMake is broken on some popular architecture. That's bad. A freeze lasts sometime between 5 and 30 days. I think they're striving for short freezes typically, because the work on package source kind of grinds to a halt in a way. Sometimes when there are bigger problems that take a while to tackle, it can last a month or so. But we try to avoid that. And then once people are satisfied with the state of the tree, and or the release owner is satisfied with the state of the tree, the actual release happens. So first of all, there's an internal mail announcement saying, like, please hold off, please don't commit until further notice. And then from a working copy on somebody's workstation, they run CVS tag to tag the what's called the base, so the exact set of revisions at which we branch, because CVS doesn't have the concept of a revision for the whole tree. Every file has its own revision, and then you create the branch from the same working copy. So that means you have, for example, package source dash 2018 Q2 dash base is the tag, and package source dash 2018 Q2 is the branch. Then then you will create tarballs, start the final package builds, and so on and so forth. Then usually Petra goes ahead and closes all the pending pull-up tickets for the old branch, because it's all of a sudden become obsolete. Then comes the point where the release owner writes the release announcement. That is usually sent out to the developers, and then people find embarrassing typos or provide additional things they would like to highlight. For example, this release, we've fixed 250 Python packages. That's something I want to put in the announcement because it's kind of cool. So I do that, and then you announce, and the release is out there. And at that point, as a user, that's when you should update. So again, my recommendation as a user of a supported platform, for example, if you're on, say, NetBSD 8, AMD 64, why not? That's a typical example. There are binary package repositories. They are kept up to date. So just use package-in. It's a really nice apt-style binary package manager. You point it to the official package directory by editing a file called repositories.conf. Then you run package-in update and package-in full upgrade. It'll update all your packages to the current versions. You can run that regularly, say once every couple of days over the lifetime of that branch, because there will be updates, and they'll be just binary packages, so that's nice. Before you change branches, I recommend to do a backup, because things might break. The lazy solution would be to just make a copy of your user PKG and your package database files, so you can roll those back. If you want to do a bit more sophisticated, you could, for example, use Borg backup, which I really like. So do a backup, because things might break. Now we go on to the thing that package source release engineering actually does. By the way, we have alluded a couple times in jokes. So officially, there are at least a dozen members to package source Relange. However, since I've been there are only 2 persons that I have ever seen pulling up anything or handle any requests, and that's since Tron stepped back, so that's Petra and me. Anyway, so what is a pull-up? A pull-up is a form of a ticket. It is the only way to make a change to the stable branch. As a developer, you are not allowed to commit directly into a stable branch. That's something that new developers sometimes do, and then you have to roll it back because it's not allowed. Only members of package source Relange may commit into the stable branch, and only based on a pull-up ticket, and they may not pull up their own tickets. However, tickets may be submitted by any developer. Non-developers may not submit tickets, but it's okay to sort of informally ask somebody. For example, you see a commit message and it says fix remote code execution in some package, and then you, as a user who is not a developer, you can go ahead and just follow up and drop a line to perhaps the person that has committed and saying, hey, this sounds like it would be really good to have it in stable. So that can be done. Now, there is I found this page while preparing this talk. I don't think I've read it before. Here are the pull-up rules. It's a long document, and 95% of it refer to pull-ups to the source tree, because the NetBSD source also has pull-up tickets. And then at the bottom, there's this very small paragraph that talks about package source pull-ups. It says the usual pull-up procedures are only security fixes pull-up. It's interesting because we pull up plenty of things that are not security fixes. Platform-specific fixes might be okay, but are clear second-class citizens to the security fixes. That is, security fixes should be pulled up with a higher priority. No one pulls up their own request. Okay, we follow that. In case of doubt, ask package source PMC, which I don't think anyone has ever done. But yeah, so it says only security fixes pulled up. That's not what we do. If somebody submits a pull-up request and it looks at all reasonable, we pull up. There's been situations where one person sent like 100 requests at the same time, and there were for typos and such. At some point, you might say, you know, you're creating a lot of work for us for no noticeable gain. But if it's like, now this package builds on Linux, sure.
In practicality, what we most get and what we most pull up, besides security fixes, are build fixes.
Yep.
But for a platform or anything, and I think that's always worthwhile because it goes from not working to working.
I think so too. What else do I want to say? Yeah, so build fixes, platform-specific build fixes in practice are all fine. Bug fixes of the form, before this commit, the package crashed on startup. Now I can actually use it, are also typically also fine. I've done a little worked example to show you how such a thing could look like. Here is a mail that came in on package source changes. So you saw Leo earlier handling package source changes by searching for CVE. I do the same thing except in the Gmail web interface. So you see this thing, and it's the classic example. So there's a package, and it gets a patch added, and it's a fix for a CVE from last year. And it's been pulled from some other distribution, in this case, SUSE. So you see this commit, and you think, oh, that would be nice if it were in stable. So the next thing on paper is that you should try to apply the change to a clean checkout of package source stable, and only file the pull-up ticket if that is the case. If, like me, you're lazy and you want to eyeball it, I'm going to show you how to do the shortcut. You go to packagesource.se. If you haven't heard about packagesource.se, it's fabulous. You should use it all the time. It's a web interface that is essentially a catalog of package source packages, has a search function, has commits. So for example, I can just, wait a second, I can just, does that work? Yes. Go to packagesource.se, search for xv, tac. It'll show me exact matches graphics /xv. I can go to the home page and other thingies, and I can follow the revision history here at the bottom. So in this case, the commit by Tim that we see was done on 22nd of June, and you see the next one before is in January, so almost half a year between the two. So it's probably going to be fine. If we want to check a little more closely, we can click through to CVS Web. Then go check out the makefile or distinfo or something like a file from that commit. And you see that, well, in this case, you see 2018 Q2 has been released with this fix already included. So we wouldn't need to pull it up now. But let's pretend this didn't happen because I prepared the example a week ago. So you see 2018 Q1 was released with the commit immediately before. So it was the first time somebody changed something. So you can be sure that it'll apply cleanly. It's a simple heuristic. It can save a bit of time. Sometimes, typically, the thing that's in between is something like a package revision bump because some dependency has been updated and the package needs to be rebuilt. You can skip those. It might get a little merge conflict, but it's trivial to fix. Or if there's other bug fixes between the base revision and the thing you want to pull up, maybe you can just specify all of the commits into your ticket, and then pull up all of them at once. It's also a way. So as I said, you look for commits after last branch, and then you send a nice email to pullup-package-source@netbsd.org. And as you can see, this is a good pull-up ticket. Well, I have written it myself. But this is a good pull-up ticket for several reasons. One, it states what to update and why. It says there's a security fix for this package. The fact that it says please is maybe nice for the people on the other end handling it. And I have the full commit message in there. So whenever you do that, please paste the full thing, including the blurb at the bottom that says, please note that the diffs are not public domain, because we have a little script that parses the mail and creates a script to actually apply the patch and a template for the commit message. And the script will parse the mail by looking for the blurb. And if that is missing, you might get a parse error, and then you need to fix it manually. So once you send this email, you get this back. And you notice, or you might notice, that Leonardo has showed you request tracker. This is a different ticketing system because we have at least 4 in NetBSD. So you get a request number assigned, and you can reply to the ticket by just putting this string in the subject, and it'll be added to the existing ticket. And then on our side we have a website relenge.netbsd.org that has ticket tracking for NetBSD 8, 7, 6 and package stores. And if you click through to one of them, show all non-resolved tickets, you get a little table view, and you can see like the one from before has been removed when 2018 Q2 was released, but now we have one here. It has also status field that can be open, feedback, closed, and a couple others. And if you click through, so this is open to anyone. Anyone can read these. These are public. If you click through on the ticket, like that, I think, no. I have to click on the subject, then you get a dump of the ticket. So you get the full text for this one, plus all the follow-ups. So in this case, Petra has followed up earlier today that she tried to build the package with the patch, and it doesn't build. So before we apply any patch, we will do a verification build of the package in question with the patch applied, and if it doesn't build, we complain. So what makes a good ticket? I've already said that. Check whether the change applies cleanly, or just at least eyeball it. If there are non-trivial conflicts, and non-trivial I mean anything more than something like package revision not matching, then you can also provide a patch. You can say like, I know this thing doesn't apply cleanly onto the stable branch, but here I've done all the work. Take this patch, apply it, and we'll be good. Sometimes that's also necessary if you want to pull up a revision that's not actually in the head. For example, let's say we have Go 110 in the stable release, and then current upgrades to 111. But then a little while later, there is a security fix that is applied for both. So you don't want to do pull up a change from Go 110 to Go 111 into a stable branch, because that would be far too large a change. So you can prepare a patch for like the micro update for the old branch and submit that as a ticket. If we send you a follow-up email, for example, the one that says your thing doesn't actually build, please respond. That's nice. We track those tickets using a extremely minimalistic ticketing system called REC. And while seeing Leonardo's talk, I have been wondering if we shouldn't switch to request tracker and share the request tracker with package source security, because there is a significant overlap. but I don't have a coherent proposal or anything. For applying and parsing, we have a pull-up script that's written in Python that parses the ticket. It can use the HTTP interface that I showed you, so it'll download the full text of the ticket. It tries to extract essentially the CVS diff lines and communicates them into CVS up -j something something, so into CVS commands that apply the diffs, and they also write a commit message template that says something like pull up ticket number 1234 requested by Bouillet, and then there's an empty line where you add something like blah build fix, and then and then it gets committed, and a record of that also gets into a file called changes-package source-2018 Q2 or whatever the name is. And then we write a follow-up email saying something like, thank you for your ticket, this has been applied, and we close the request and done. And by virtue of the builders being in an endless loop, once they have finished their current build, they'll do a CVS up on the branch, they'll pick up the new version, build the package and possibly its dependencies again, and you can use them with package in. What else did I say? Yeah, I've said all that. Now I'm going to show a few variants. One of them is if you get a PR, a problem report. So that's NetBSD's version of a bug. We call bugs PRs. How do you handle those? So as a reminder, I'm going to talk to you about the next tracking system. We've had RT and REC. Now we have GNATS. GNATS is the NetBSD bug tracker. So for those that don't know, as a slight diversion, I'm going to introduce GNATS. Anyone can submit a bug report or a problem report using send PR on the command line. If you happen to have a mailer configured correctly, which I never have. Or you can do it via a browser by going to netbsd.org and clicking on the send PR link, and you get a form that you fill out. For package stores, use PKG as the category. Also for package stores, the default assignee is called package manager. It's a role account that I believe has nobody directly assigned to it.
Strictly speaking, it does have recipients.
Okay, it does have recipients. But in practice, if package manager is responsible, that means it's unassigned. This morning, I did just for fun, I did a query on status open and responsible package manager and found 820 open unassigned bugs. I've closed a bunch of them since, but yeah. If you want to follow up as the submitter, you can, or as somebody who has subscribed to package source bugs that gets copies to all the GNATS mails, you can just reply to the thread. Otherwise, you can create a new mail, send it to gnats-admin and use re:\package/ whatever the number is, and then it'll be added to the ticket. And it will send out to all the people who have subscribed to the ticket. If you do a commit, you can write into the commit message something like, I'm fixing PR PKG/ whatever the number is, and it'll be automatically copied into the bug report as well. That's nice. Practically all the other operations you can do on a bug required you to SSH into the machine that GNATS runs on, and use query PR or edit PR on the command line. For example, as a non-developer, you cannot subscribe to a bug report. As a developer, you can edit the bug and edit the field called notify list and put email addresses there, so they will be CC'd. But yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. The reason for that, by the way, is GNATS has I always joke that the user interface from Gnats feels like it's from 1985, and I think that's because it is. It is from the 80s, so there you go. And the web interface we do have was tacked on, I think, by NetBSD folks. But my point is this: once you have fixed the bug and you want to pull this up, you can set the state of the PR to pending pull-ups. If you want to do more, if you're going to be passive aggressive, you can set it to needs pull-ups and not do anything. If you do pending pull-ups, that means you send a request. You submit the pull-up ticket as usual, because the branch commit also has a copy of the original message. It'll be also copied into the PR, so you can see when the pull-up has been done. And then either you close the bug once it's done, or one of the Relange folks closes it. That's not clearly defined. I don't know. Here's another one. I called it proactive about security. It comes back to what the amazing work that Leonardo and the others have done. So if you are a developer, you get from time to time mail that looks like this. This is only the first maybe 5%. So it says number of vulnerable packages in package source had 591. We've heard that number before, and then it gives you a diff of what happened between like the week before and this week. And personally, I find it very hard to use because the diff is not sorted by package name, but it's rather sorted by first character, which is either plus or minus. So that's bad. And it'll create a diff if you take a vulnerable package and you update it to a new version that does not fix the vulnerability. Because now the vulnerable package is no longer like boring SSL 2015-1230 NB6, but it is boring SSL 2015-1230 NB7. That's obviously completely different. But anyway, we get these mails once a week. It would be nice if you could do something about it. Or what Leonardo suggested, you have a number of packages installed, you run package admin audit, you would probably get like a screen full of things you care about and that are vulnerable. Please fix. Can be hard to find if there is a fix. And but if you do find one, please apply and pull up. That would be nice. By the way, going from this from the mail doesn't say why a certain package is vulnerable. You have to look into the vulnerability file that package admin can download for you, and that usually contains the URL for the vulnerability report, and then you can go to the report and see if there's a link to a fix. So we would love to have more pull-ups that fix these things. Right, and so I'm already at the end of my talk. It was a bit shorter than anticipated. So I want to say it's good that we have a stable branch, especially for a user. It makes it kind of easy to stay on top of things. I'm going to repeat what, I'm going to repeat the first half of what Tron has done. We could use one more person on package source Relange that actually does pull-ups. That would be nice. Petra, microphone.
And it would be nice if it wasn't one of the people who supply most of the quality pull-ups.
Yeah, that is true. Alternatively, it would be nice if the 12 or so people that never do anything and that are theoretically part of this rotation did something. But anyway, if you are motivated and you have spare time, yeah, I know, consider joining Package Source Relange. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Just a comment. RT is strictly non-public.
Mm-hmm.
So it cannot be used in the same function as rec. Rec is public.
You mean because the tickets are the web interface that I showed, that would not work if it was RT. That's a good reason. Mm-hmm.
Any more questions? So thank you, Benny, for your talk.
Thank you.
Okay, so the light's gone green and you can hear me okay. Okay. One sec.
So then we continue basically. So thanks for Sevan for the next talk about something old, something new, something broad.
Okay. All right. So we started off the talk today with Pierre mentioning about the history of Seabase. Just wanted to say that the London Hackspace is actually moving to Wembley, literally. So maybe next year, if we do return to London, we can do more sports ball activity out there. All right. So the first part is going to be about something old. Going back to Package SourceCon 2014, I gave a talk about Mac Power PC hardware and how it's kind of started flirting with package source and Mac OS. And since then, I've kind of continued amassing hardware and playing with this old systems. So it's kind of cheap, interesting hardware that is kind of readily available and of kind of okay quality, but aching to think that other things of that style is probably a lot less noisy and probably better architected for using in the home. So yeah, like I said, it's kind of readily available, and because in the mainstream, most people can't run model software on it. The hardware can be had for literally next to nothing. And so I've been using this to kind of play around with NetBSD and kind of use it for testing. And I'll give you a kind of an introduction to what's been going on over the last year in NetBSD for the Mac PPC port. So first thing is that thanks to Jorg, we now actually have the LLVM builds for Mac PPC. So if you wanted to try running that with LLVM as your default compiler, that's now readily available. I don't know how feasible it is as a kind of a daily driver, but it's a good stepping point of going in that direction, basically. We now have the driver that was previously deemed to be kind of not production ready, enabled by default, which is the AUX one. I think the history of it was that to do with like scheduling in the kernel and older hardware, you would have problems if you enabled this, but Mac Allen kind of solved this issue long ago, so we can actually get sound on more systems working out of the box. So it turned out that we had a missing statement somewhere to initialize our sound hardware. So on a lot of systems, we actually had the sound playing in the wrong pitch. And that's also been fixed now thanks to the help of NAT. So you can take something reasonably old like an iBook G4 and actually have it playing pretty decent 16-bit WAV files without any issues, and it does that so happily. Bluetooth is now also enabled by default, so if you have any kind of Bluetooth peripherals, it should work. I enabled this before BSDCAN, thinking I was going to use it for VPN, but I didn't have a chance to. But we now have that enabled in the generic kernel as standard as well. VariExec as well is also enabled, and actually I don't know why we don't have that enabled on all our ports, but another thing. We have different schedulers for doing disk I/O, and one of them is this per priority cyclical scan, which gives better disk performance. So we switched this over for head to see how that fares moving forward. I haven't done any kind of testing, and actually the documentation in comparison to the other scheduler which is available is a bit sparse. So the technical details is a bit beyond my understanding, and I don't. I'd appreciate if anybody knows about this subsystem for some input. I'm happy to write up the documentation for it if I'm just kind of giving some pointers about what's actually going on. Another thing that Michael Lawrence has been working on is the G5 supports. So I think back in like 2003 or 4, there was a Google Summer of Code for actually adding support for the PowerPC G5 systems. And again, the subsequent year, there was another GSOC project for bringing improvements in for this. And the changes weren't really ever merged into the tree. And then there was like kind of a resurgence of activity for bringing this back into shape. And again, it wasn't kind of merged into the tree. But thanks to David Brownlee, he got some hardware for Michael, and Michael's been working away. So now you can actually, what he first started working on was the last generation G5 hardware, which was PCI Express based, and he got that booting, but unfortunately that didn't apply to the earlier generation hardware, which is PCIX based. And so he started working away at that, and now we're at a state where we can boot NetBSD head on both sets of systems. Where we're lacking now is in terms of the firmware support to actually boot directly from disk, but we're heading in that direction anyway. It's just it's a case of time, hopefully. But at the moment, you can actually happily netboot the system and actually start doing things, which is a good place. So, like, looking at the state of G5 support, started kind of doing bits of archaeology and